Lord Krishna married Rukmini Devi. Radharani is Rukmini Devi. Radharani duplicated herself into Rukmini Devi. Just as Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, Rukmini is the supreme goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi. According to the authority of Chaitanya Charitamrta, the many duplication expansion of Lord Krishna and Sri Radharani is simultaneous. Krishna multiplies himself into various Vishnu-tattva forms, and Radharani multiplies herself into various Sakti-tattva forms by her internal potency as multi-forms of the goddess of fortune. Now you know that Radharani is Rukmini Devi. The story of Krishna's marriage with Rukmini is described as follows. The king of Vidarbha, Maharaja Bhismika, was a very qualified and devoted king. He had 5 sons and only one daughter, Rukmini. She was beautiful and chaste, and was meant to be married to Lord Krishna. Many saintly persons and sages like Narada Muni and others used to visit the palace of King Bhismika. Naturally, Rukmini had a chance to talk with them, and in this way she obtained information about Krishna. Simply by hearing about him, she desired to become his wife. Of course, she already knew him, because she is Radharani. Lord Krishna already knew Rukmini Devi as Radharani too. She was his same Radharani. She was the reservoir of all transcendental qualities: intelligence, liberal-mindedness, exquisite beauty, and righteous behavior. Krishna therefore wanted her as his wife. Lord Krishna and Radharani are originally from Goloka, Vrindavan planet. It is the highest planet in the spiritual world. Lord Krishna and Radharani duplicated themselves from Goloka Vrindavan and descended on earth, which is located in the material world, to help the innocent people. Lord Krishna and Radharani further multiplied themselves. Radharani expanded herself as Rukmini Devi. Because Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, who is situated in every living being's heart, and Radharani is a goddess, it is possible for them to do all this. Later on you will hear further stories where Radharani multiplied into many queens, and Lord Krishna simultaneously multiplied into so many of himself too. This is all due to their greatness and unlimited spiritual powers. All of the family members and relatives of King Bhismika decided that Rukmini should be given in marriage to Krishna. However, her elder brother, Rukmi, despite the desire of the others, arranged for her marriage with Sisupala, a determined enemy of Krishna. When the black-eyed, beautiful Rukmini heard the settlement, she immediately became very morose. However, being a king's daughter, she understood political diplomacy and decided that there was no use in simply being morose. Some steps should be taken immediately. After some deliberation, she decided to send a message to Krishna, and so that she might not be deceived, she selected a qualified Brahmana as her messenger. Such a qualified Brahmana is always truthful and is a devotee of Vishnu. Without delay, the Brahmana was sent to Dwaraka. Reaching the gate of Dwaraka, the Brahmana informed the doorkeeper of his arrival, and the doorkeeper led him to the place where Krishna was sitting on a golden throne. Since the Brahmana had the opportunity of being Rukmini's messenger, he was fortunate enough to see the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the original cause of all causes. A Brahmana is the spiritual teacher of all the social divisions. Lord Sri Krishna, in order to teach everyone the Vedic etiquette of how to respect a Brahmana, immediately got up and offered him his throne. When the Brahmana was seated on the golden throne, Lord Sri Krishna began to worship him exactly in the manner in which the demigods worship Krishna. Even though Lord Krishna is God and worshipped by all, he did this to teach us how to respect a saint. In due time, the Brahmana took his bath, accepted his meals, and took to rest on a bedstead completely bedecked with soft silk. As he was resting, Lord Sri Krishna silently approached and, with great respect, put the Brahmana's legs on his lap and began to massage them. In this way, Krishna appeared before the Brahmana and said,
"My dear Brahmana, I hope that you are executing the religious principles without any difficulty and that your mind is always in a peaceful condition. O best of all the Brahmanas, you should always remain satisfied, because if a Brahmana is always self-satisfied, he will not deviate from his prescribed duties. And simply by sticking to one's prescribed duties, everyone, especially the Brahmanas, can attain the highest perfection of all desires. Even if a person is as opulent as the king of heaven, Indra, if he is not satisfied, he inevitably has to transmigrate from one planet to another. Such a person can never be happy under any circumstances. But if a person's mind is satisfied, even if he is bereft of his high position, he can be happy living anywhere and everywhere.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the Brahmanas and Vaisnavas, because the Brahmanas are always self-satisfied, and the Vaisnavas are always engaged in actual welfare activities for the human society. They are the best friends of the people in general. Both are free from false egoism and are always in a peaceful condition of mind. If you have no objection, I am giving you permission to speak about your mission.
Thus, being very satisfied by these transcendental pastimes with the Lord, the Brahmana narrated the whole story of his mission to come and see Krishna. He got out the letter which Rukmini had written to Krishna and said, "These are the words of Princess Rukmini.
My dear Krishna, O infallible and most beautiful one, any human being who happens to hear about your transcendental form and pastimes immediately absorbs through his ears your name, fame, and qualities. Thus all his material pangs subside, and he fixes your form in his heart. Through such transcendental love for you, he sees you always within himself, and by this process, all his desires become fulfilled. Similarly, I have heard of your transcendental qualities. I may be shameless in expressing myself so directly, but you have captivated me and taken my heart. My dear Krishna, you are the supreme lion among the human beings, the supreme person among persons. Any girl, although not yet out of her home, or any woman who may be of the highest chastity, would desire to marry you, being captivated by your unprecedented character, knowledge, opulence, and position. My dear Lord, I dedicate my life and soul unto your lotus feet. I have accepted your lordship as my selected husband, and I therefore request you to accept me as your wife. You are the supreme power. Now I belong to you. I request you to immediately take care of me before I am taken away by Sishupal and other princes like him. My dear Lord, in my previous life, I may have done public welfare work like digging wells and growing trees, or pious activities such as performing ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices, and serving the superior spiritual master, the Brahmanas and Vaisnavas. I know that you are very kind toward your devotees. Therefore, I have decided to become eternally devoted to you. If that which is enjoyable for the lion to eat is taken away by the jackal, it will be a ludicrous affair. Therefore, I request you to immediately take care of me before I am taken away by Sishupala and other princes like him.
After explaining Rukmini Devi's statement to Krishna, the Brahmana said, Rukmini suggested that it would be easiest for him to kidnap her while she was either going from the palace to the temple, or else while she was returning home.
My dear Krishna, chief of the Yadu dynasty, I have brought this confidential message for you from Rukmini. Now it is placed before you for your consideration. After due deliberation, you can act as you please, but if you want to do something, you must do it immediately. There is not much time left for action.
After hearing Rukmini's statement, Lord Krishna was very pleased. He immediately shook hands with the Brahmana and said,
My dear Brahmana, I am very glad to hear that Rukmini is anxious to marry me, since I am also anxious to get her hand. I can understand that the marriage of Rukmini with Sishupala has been arranged by her elder brother in a spirit of animosity toward me. Just as fire is extracted and utilized after manipulating ordinary wood, similarly, after dealing with these demoniac princes, I shall bring forth Rukmini like fire from their midst. My mind is always absorbed in the thought of Rukmini, and sometimes I cannot sleep at night because I am thinking of her.
Krishna, upon being informed of the specific date of Rukmini's marriage, became anxious to leave immediately. He asked his driver, Daruka, to harness the horses for his chariot and prepare to go to the kingdom of Vidarbha. Krishna helped the Brahmana up and gave him a seat by his side. Immediately they started from Dwaraka and within one night arrived at the province of Vidarbha. King Bhismika was not very enthusiastic about handing his daughter over to Sishupal, but he was obliged to accept the marriage settlement due to his affectionate attachment for his eldest son, who had negotiated it. As a matter of duty, he was decorating the city for the marriage ceremony and was acting in great earnestness to make it very successful. The beauty of the city was enhanced by the inhabitants, both men and women. Priests and brahmanas were sumptuously fed and, according to ritualistic ceremony, were given sufficient wealth and cows in charity. In this way, they were engaged in chanting Vedic hymns. The king's daughter, Rukmini, was exquisitely beautiful. She was very clean and had beautiful teeth. The auspicious sacred girdle was tied on her wrist. She was given various types of jewelry to put on and long silken cloth to cover the upper and lower parts of her body. Learned priests gave her protection by chanting mantras from the Sama Veda, Arji Veda, and Yajur Veda. After this, they chanted mantras from the Atharva Veda and offered oblations in the fire to pacify the ominous conjunctions of different stars. King Bhismika was very experienced in dealing with the brahmanas and priests when such ceremonies were held. He specifically distinguished the brahmanas by giving them large quantities of gold and silver, grains mixed with molasses, and cows decorated with golden ornaments. Sishupal's father gathered his military divisions, known as Madhusravi. He took many elephants, garlanded with golden necklaces, and many chariots and horses which were similarly decorated. It appeared that Damagosa, along with his son and other companions, was going to Kundana, not completely forgetting the marriage, but mainly intent on fighting. When King Bhismika learned that Damagosa and his party were arriving, he left the city to receive them. Outside the city gate, there were many gardens where the guests were welcome to stay. The party led by Sishupal's father contained thousands of men, among whom the prominent kings and personalities were Jarasandha, Dantavakra, Viduratha, and Pandraka. It was an open secret that Rukmini was meant to be married to Krishna, but that her elder brother, Rukmi, had arranged her marriage to Sisupala. There was also some whispering going on about a rumor that Rukmini had sent a messenger to Krishna. Therefore, the soldiers suspected that Krishna might come to take Rukmini. Even though they were not without fear, they were all prepared to give Krishna a nice fight in order to prevent the girl from being taken away. Sri Balrama received the news that Krishna had left for Kundana accompanied only by a Brahmana. He also heard that Sisupala was there with a large number of soldiers. Suspecting that they would attack Krishna, Balrama took strong military divisions of chariots, infantry, horses, and elephants, and arrived at the precinct of Kundana. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Rukmini was expecting Krishna to arrive, but when neither he nor the Brahmana who took her message appeared, she became full of anxiety and began to think how unfortunate she was.
There is only one night between today and my marriage day, and still neither the Brahmana nor Saimasundara has returned. I cannot ascertain any reason for this.
Just then Rukmini, full of anxiety, saw the Brahmana messenger. Krishna, being the super soul of all living beings, could understand Rukmini's anxiety. Therefore he sent the Brahmana inside the palace to let her know that he had arrived. She smiled and inquired from him whether or not Krishna had already come. The Brahmana replied that the son of the Yadu dynasty, Sri Krishna, had arrived. He further encouraged her by saying that Krishna had promised to carry her away without fail. Rukmini was so elated by the Brahmana's message that she wanted to give him in charity everything she possessed. Anyone who gets the favor of the goddess of fortune, as did this Brahmana, is without a doubt always happy in material opulence. When King Bhismika heard that Krishna and Balrama had come, he invited them to see the marriage ceremony of his daughter. Immediately, he arranged to receive them, along with their soldiers, in a suitable garden house. As was the Vedic custom, the king offered Krishna and Balrama honey and fresh washcloth. He was hospitable not only to Krishna, Balrama, and kings such as Jarasandha, but he also received many other kings and princes according to their respective personal strength, age, and material possessions. Out of curiosity and eagerness, the people of Kundana assembled before Krishna and Balrama and began to drink the nectar of their beauty through their eyes. With great love, they offered them their silent respects. They were very pleased, considering Lord Krishna the suitable match for Rukmini. They prayed to Lord Krishna in their minds that Lord Krishna and Rukmini be united in marriage. In the meantime, Rukmini, being very nicely dressed and protected by bodyguards, came out of the palace to visit her family's temple. As Rukmini proceeded toward the temple, she was very silent and grave. Her mother and her girlfriend were by her side, and the wife of a Brahmana was in the center. Surrounding her were bodyguards. All the princes and visitors who came to Kundana for the marriage were assembled outside the temple to see Rukmini. The princes were especially very eager to see her because they all actually thought that they would have Rukmini as their wife. Struck with wonder upon seeing Rukmini, they thought that she was specially manufactured by the creator to bewilder all the great chivalrous princes. Her beauty was specifically intended to attract the attention of Krishna. Expecting Krishna to take her away at any moment, she proceeded very slowly back towards her home from the temple. The great chivalrous princes who assembled there were so overwhelmed by Rukmini's beauty that they almost fell unconscious off their horses and elephants. Rukmini Devi, however, was not interested in any of them. In her heart, she was simply expecting Krishna to come and carry her away. As she was adjusting the ornaments on her left-hand finger, she happened to look upon the princes and suddenly saw that Krishna was present amongst them. Krishna, not being concerned with the other princes, immediately took the opportunity of placing Rukmini on his chariot, marked by a flag bearing an image of Garuda. Jarasandha, who had many times experienced defeat by Krishna, began to roar.
How is this? Krishna is taking Rukmini away from us without any opposition. What is the use in our being chivalrous fighters with arrows? My dear princes, just look. We are losing our reputation by this action.
The opposing princes were determined to defeat Krishna and recapture Rukmini from his custody, and they fought with him as severely as possible. Rukmini began to look on the face of Krishna, expressing her gratefulness that he had taken such a great risk for her sake only. Her eyes moving, she appeared to be very sorry, and Krishna could immediately understand her mind. He encouraged her with these words.
My dear Rukmini, don't worry. Please rest assured that the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty will kill all of them, evil opposing demon soldiers without delay.
As Krishna was speaking with Rukmini, the commanders of the Yadu dynasty's soldiers, headed by Lord Balrama, not tolerating the defiant attitude of the opposing demon soldiers, defeated them. When the enemy, headed by Jarasandha, found that they were gradually being defeated by the soldiers of Krishna, they thought it unwise to risk losing in the battle for the sake of Sishupal. Sishupal himself should have fought to rescue Rukmini from the hands of Krishna, but when the soldiers saw that Sishupal was not competent enough to fight with Krishna, they decided not to lose their strength unnecessarily. Therefore, they ceased fighting and dispersed. The whole catastrophe of the defeat was due to the envious nature of Rukmini's elder brother, Rukmi. Rukmi still wanted to fight with Lord Krishna, but Lord Krishna defeated him. After this, Lord Krishna and Rukmini along with Lord Balaram reached Dwarka, where there was a great wedding celebration. Rukmini Devi's family, Pandavas, other friendly kings, and the Dwarka citizens enjoyed, with great jubilation, gorgeous wedding.